After a 3-year investigation into Trump-Russia collusion, at the end of which investigators determined there was no collusion, there is zero interest in determining how the whole charade began. A presidential campaign had never in the history of American politics been spied upon by the incumbent administration of the opposing party. Foreign spies, undercover FBI agents, wiretaps, doctored evidence, and national security leaks were deployed against an American campaign and a presidential transition and administration. The media was complicit, as were Democrats, the CIA, and the FBI. This was a historic abuse of power and a violation of American citizens' constitutional rights. Documents that shed light on these political crimes had been hidden for years. Documents and congressional testimony that have been made public substantiate these unlawful actions, but the left will not acknowledge them, even after smoking gun evidence proved Hillary Clinton concocted collusion to distract from her email scandal. They ignore them, smear you as a wingnut, or justify the intrusive actions on grounds that continue to crumble under their feet. The game is simple. The ruling class hides the truth and lies about those who seek it, and the left sides with the hiders and liars. Joe Biden was credibly accused of sexual assault. He denied it. But when the accuser said Biden's Senate records might hold evidence to bolster her claim, Biden refused to release them. The media yawned and said, okay. The Democrat primary voters blew it off too. Why? Because Biden had the best shot at beating Trump. And he wouldn't survive a scandal like this. It was all about power. Ex-cons with felony warrants for sexual assault can resist arrest, go for a knife, reach for a gun, spit coronavirus at an officer, and days after the officer-involved shooting, be hailed as heroes in the media. The details of the arrest will be buried or scrapped from the news reports. Sometimes exculpatory evidence for the officer will be held for days before being released. Video evidence will be edited and headlines will be skewed to paint the suspect as a martyr and the officer a cold-blooded killer. By the time all the information comes out, if it ever does, the damage is already done. Whether it's a corrupt judge, a crooked politician, or a shady executive, they'll go into lockdown mode after a scandal, and the media and their liberal allies will circle the wagons. If you have the right connections, the right party, or enough money, you can cover up your bad behavior and make your political opponents look like the guilty party. All in a day's work. Bias isn't what's in the news. Many times, bias is what's not in the news. Republican achievements in the Mideast are largely ignored. The Mideast peace deal, the obliteration of the ISIS caliphate, the removal of major ground forces from Iraq and Syria are largely unknown to the general public because they've been largely exiled from broadcast, cable, and internet news rundowns. Conservatives generally have to work harder than liberals to consume fair and balanced news and information. Any liberal can passively let the mainstream media news wash over them. The search engines, social media platforms, and internet news sites are managed by liberals. The three broadcast networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, plus CNN and MSNBC are left, as are all of the major metropolitan newspapers. If an independent thinker wants to read about racial riots, the Russia investigation, or the impeachment trial, they're better off watching raw footage online, reading unredacted documents, or perusing witness testimony. Following conservative journalists on Twitter is like being a part of the counterculture. Every single second, there is an army of citizen journalists fact-checking and exposing liberal media lies and the politicians who echo them. Censorship and suppression are now the allies of the left. Conservatives have now become the renegades and crusaders for truth. We're the ones asking the questions that powerful people don't want asked. We're the ones fighting the Freedom of Information Act requests, ambushing the politicians, and demanding accountability for dirty scoundrels. We want to see how the math adds up, where the money went, and what the real agenda is. Why can't we know how Biden's family members got rich? If coronavirus came from a lab or a wet market, or who the whistleblower is. Eventually, we found those answers out, but we went through hell doing it. It shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be so wicked to be curious about our own country. The more information is democratized, the thirstier we get for truth. There's a rabid hunt for answers in America that's causing everyone to go at each other's throats. Conservatives and independent thinkers are on the warpath for facts, while powerful interests feed the country empty calories. We get spoon-fed small morsels of spin and half-baked nothing burgers that insult our intelligence. Momentum is building against the gatekeepers. Their credibility diminishes daily. And the fact that the left is okay with it makes conservatives into the underdogs for the first time in a while. We fight harder as underdogs. We're the underdogs of the internet era. And just like the colonists, we'll throw off the king's shackles and usher in an independent era, free from tyranny, where everyone is free to live and learn and prosper. Knowledge is power, and we're coming for the crown.